Hello there, Ray here, and today I will be showing off my spider jockey farm. I designed this farm to help me collect spider jockeys during the Halloween event last year, but I never ended up using this type of farm because it depended on the mob cap to spawn in the mobs. For every spider that spawns into the game, there is a 1% chance that that spider will be a spider jockey, and the jockey that will be riding the spider is a skeleton. The spawning floors of this farm is similar to my simple spider farm, so that there is a transparent block with only a 1 meter high area of air. This only allows spiders to spawn in this area. If a skeleton that is riding a spider happens to be submerged in water, it will dismount the spider, and this will cause them to separate from each other. So to prevent the skeleton that is riding the spider from poking his head up into the level above and then getting his head inside of one of the water streams, I have made the floors 2 meters thick. This allowed the skeleton to be able to ride on the spider and still not be able to reach the top water layer. Once a spider jockey is spawned within the farm, it will be flushed out with water and then drop down into this water stream. From here, the spiders are pushed into this collection bay area. From here there is a pressure plate which the spiders will stand on, and that pressure plate will activate this piston which will go into a clock which will continually dispense minecarts onto the rail. Eventually the minecarts will move forward and this will pick up the spider and take the spider along. But there's also a safety measure on this side with this pressure plate which goes to this piston, and this allows it in cases where the spider is in the minecart and is just sitting on the rail, he does not activate more minecarts. And this is what this does. It will just cut the wire off, preventing more minecarts from being dispensed. This is to prevent a case where a spider is in the minecart and he just leaves, and then there's another minecart to pick up a second spider. And we need a little bit of time to get rid of the first spider before we can pick up another spider. Once the spider is in the minecart, it will travel down and come right through the strip wire here, and since the spider is low enough, it will not activate the tripwire, so it will go straight on through and go right past this pressure plate here. And since the spider is a little bit bigger, it will activate this pressure plate here. Then it will come across and come to this activator rail, which will eject the spider from the minecart. And at the same time, the power from this pressure plate here will come across and come to this piston here, which will monostable it, and this will just cause this piston, which has a slime block onto it, to pulse and push the spider away from the tracks and the hoppers. Then the spider will hit up against this fence, and then it will try to walk back to where it came from, and this will just allow the spider to fall right off and down into its death. The minecart will come along and break off on the cactus, then go through the hoppers, and then be recycled back into the dispensers to be used again. Using a combination of the activator rail plus the slime block pusher is the best way to get the spiders out of the minecarts and away from the rail and the collection area. If a spider jockey would happen to come through the system, it would come across, and since the skeleton is riding a spider, it would be tall enough to activate this tripwire here, which would come through and turn this rail, allowing the spider jockey to be separated from the rest of the spiders. Then all you have to do is transport the spider jockey to a central location where it will not be able to despawn. So here I just have the skeleton, or the spider jockeys, come down and be stored inside of a tube. I found this to be about the best way to store spider jockeys, since you can just stack them inside of a glass tube and they won't be able to attack you or anything, and they won't suffocate. Ever so often I have some cobwebs just to reduce the fall damage of the spider jockeys as they come through the system, and eventually they'll make it all the way down to the bottom, and I just have some slime blocks here to prevent them from taking additional fall damage. Since mobs cannot despawn within 32 meters of the player, I use this to have the spider jockeys come down into this tube, and if the player AFKs right here, there is 32 meters of storage room down below the player. There's also 32 meters above the player. So the player can actually AFK right here in the center, and with just one tube, the player can have the whole thing filled up with spider jockeys without them being despawned naturally. And something to keep in mind is that eventually the spider jockeys, since they're not name tagged, they will count against the mob cap, so that over time the farm will get slower and slower at producing spider jockeys. With all your spider jockeys in the minecarts, they will be taken away from the minecarts that are in the sorters, so you'll want to have some more minecarts stored up to compensate for the ones that are taken away from here. Otherwise you'll want to eject the spider jockeys from the minecart and then recycle the minecarts back into the system. I've just been AFK here for 30 minutes, and you can see I have actually filled up this tube entirely full of spider jockeys. This farm is actually really quick when it comes to collecting spider jockeys in the game. But this may seem like a lot of spider jockeys, but if you were attempting to get a skeleton that had a jack-o'-lantern head that is riding a spider, and the jack-o'-lantern head comes from the Halloween event that only comes on one day of the year, there is only a 0.025% chance that a spider will spawn like this. So you have to go through about 4,000 spider spawns just to find one, just to have a chance to find one like that. And this can be quite rare, so it's important to have a very quick farm. Now, if you were trying to go for an extremely rare spider jockey, you could go for one that is not only a jack-o'-lantern head on the skeleton, but also has an invisible spider on it. Now this is a only 0.0005% chance, or 1 in 200,000 spider spawns. So that is an extremely rare spider jockey if you happen to get one of those in your game. If you want to name the spider jockeys as they come through the system, I would recommend having a cobweb, then an air gap, and then another cobweb, and then have a block in here that just allows a little gap for you to be able to name tag them. So either a stair or like a chest, and then just come in here and name tag the spider as it's falling through. Then you can name tag the skeleton as it's coming through as well. Now you won't be able to see the spider's name even though you name tagged it, but it's important to name tag it because it can despawn, and the skeleton needs to be name tagged, but you'll be able to see that it has its name tag. And then you want to make sure that you're not in the line of view for the skeleton, so he's not shooting at you most of the time. And be aware of this because the skeleton can shoot the mob above him or the mob below him when he's trying to shoot at you. But another thing to be aware of is that if there is an empty minecart coming through the system and you are right clicking, you will click into that minecart. This will cause the skeletons to see you and try to shoot you, and they'll end up hitting the spider, and then the spider will attack the skeleton, and this will cause them to kill each other off. So be aware of this when you are naming your spider jockeys. That very thing actually happened to me when I was in our server trying to acquire a jack-o'-lantern headed skeleton that was riding a spider. I was clicking on the spider, and there was an empty minecart also where the spider was, and I clicked into the minecart, and because I was lagging so much I couldn't exit the game quick enough, and this actually caused the skeleton to shoot downward, and he shot the spider and killed it, and that's how we lost our jack-o'-lantern headed skeleton spider jockey. Although this farm is designed to collect spider jockeys, it is very efficient spider farm as well. So that's why the spiders that are ejected over here, I have them come down and drop onto this platform, which is the same setup as my simple spider farm with just a hopper minecart down here, which will collect a string and put it in a chest, so you can get your string out of this farm as well as your spider jockeys. Although the spawning pads are similar to my simple spider farm in that I have two pistons that retract one water source and allow the water to flow through. Since the floors are 2 meters thick, I have the wiring not within the spawning floors, but instead I have the wiring just above it within the floor itself. And here you can just see that I have these fence posts in here just to prevent mobs from spawning on top of this redstone, and also to divert the water around it. But I'm also using comparators with a low signal strength just to reduce lag, and I'm also having the wiring go down one side and across and back up through the other side, just like I have in the simple spider farm. But when I come to the other side, I have it so that the redstone is extended, but using a low signal strength, it extended downwards, and just like the simple spider farm, I have it so that it's just on a clock where it itself refreshes every so often. Because the pistons are not directly above each other, the floors are a little bit different lengths, and therefore the water comes out different lengths as well. And here I just have some open fence gates so that the water does not spill over the edge. But this water layer here does not actually affect spider jockeys on the riding on the spiders, because when they come through here, they will actually be just far enough from the water so that they don't dismount from their spider. And another thing to notice is that in this water current here is that the water current is pulling the spiders away from the slabbed area. So if a spider would land on the slabs, it would be pulled towards the center. And also there's glass in here to prevent the skeletons from taking suffocation damage as it comes through the system. And also along the way to the storage area, there is no solid blocks, so that the spider and the skeleton do not take suffocation damage. And there's also a significant amount of lighting in here to prevent mobs from spawning on the rails here. Unfortunately, due to a bug, spider jockeys do not spawn in 1.9 as well as in 1.10. So this farm can only be used in 1.8 currently until that bug is fixed. So now I'm here in version 1.10, and here I just made a world that has a solid block, then an air gap, then a layer of glass blocks. And this would normally just allow spiders and spider jockeys to spawn within this area. But as you can see here, we just have a skeleton that spawned directly within inside of the glass block. And this is a bug in 1.9 as well as in 1.10, where a skeleton will spawn instead of a spider jockey. So there is no spider that spawned at all, and all that spawned is just a skeleton here. And I would greatly appreciate anyone who would upvote the bug report, which I have put a link in the description, so that we can actually have this fixed, because currently we just got skeletons that are spawning inside of glass blocks. Although spider jockeys do not spawn in this type of environment in 1.9 as well as in 1.10, you can still acquire spider jockeys in those versions by using spider spawners. Although spider spawners are very slow compared to using the entire mob cap to spawn in your own spiders. When this bug does get fixed, this farm should be able to work and acquire spider jockeys in those versions as well. There you have it, guys, a spider jockey farm, a way to acquire rare mobs in the game as well as get some string. So if you found this interesting, show me a like. If you would like to see more interesting farms like this, subscribe, and don't forget to comment. Bye bye.